are gonna get crazy!
Most everyone's mad here.
Yes! Welcome back, everybody, to another fun-filled episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. How are we all doing, everyone? I hope you're all having a very nice day. I hope you're all having a good time so far. And I know I have. In fact, I actually did get a fun new little update for not just AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast, but also for streaming as well, since I did get a brand new Stream Deck. Yes, I decided to go and fully upgrade it right now, and one benefit that I could go and say right now with it is that now I can actually have a clearer soundboard that's right in front of me, so hopefully this will go and remind me that maybe to go and spice things up with this thing, I can go and actually use more of the sound effects that I have featured. So hopefully this will be a moment of celebration, you know, a moment that could be like, you know, just a great time to celebrate and maybe a nice little update to AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. And hopefully at the same time, it won't be too annoying as well. I promise I'm not going to go and just cover everything with just loopy, wacky sound effects, you know, just something in order to have a fun little time with. And I will say that maybe there are a few extra things that I need to go and make sure that I try to properly update to see if everything can go and work out properly, but so far I'll do that afterwards, and you know, I'll do my best to work out like some of the other kinks, but hopefully it should be fine for now. At least, like, I'll be able to work with what I have over here. And also, of course, throughout the week, there have been some unfortunate passings that have occurred, including several iconic figures who are no longer with us, whether it be Bonnie Tyler, who is it again? Is it Wai Ching Ho, her name, I believe? Just want to go and double check if that is her name, just to be sure. I did see someone in the chat. Oh, no, Wai Chung Ho. Sorry, Wai Chung Ho. And just today, as I am recording this, Sam Neill has also passed away. So, yeah, we did lose some beloved figures in entertainment, and may they all go and rest in peace. But anyways, as for what we got for today, we're still gonna have a fun time. I still got a bunch of stuff that we will go and discuss, including some streaming trouble that we're about to get into. And no, hopefully I am not referring to this stream right over here. I mean the streaming services like with Netflix, Disney Plus, HBO Max, because later on in the episode I will be talking about those, but hopefully with this stream right here, everything will be okay. And with that said, now I would like to go into the chat wall, and it's time that I ask you all, are you ready for today's episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast? All right, let me hear it, folks. Who is ready for today? All right, let's see now. Oh, yes, I do see people are ready. People are prepared. All right. That is wonderful to see. And so, now with all that said, it is now time that we shall go and get things started. And with our first story that I have for you today, we are going to go and check out a couple of trailers. And the first one that I have here, well, let's just say that this has been one of the most talked about animated features for all the right and wrong reasons. Yes, this has been highly anticipated, especially for fans, but at the same time, it has gotten into a lot of controversies along the way. Not necessarily because of the movie itself, but you probably remember back in April when there were all the leaks that did occur, and that became a massive mess where everybody was pretty much a loser there. The fans turned out to be losers because it ultimately turned out that their little acts of activism and little wars against the corporations are not really as effective as they may think it is. There's also the company behind it that took quite an L, mainly because it really shows that their security systems are very flawed and that they don't really care about the animated projects that they are producing. And also, unfortunately, the artists and animators behind this particular movie did lose a bit as well, considering that all the years of hard work that they have put onto this project, well, sadly, because of all the leaks and stuff, it has been unceremoniously released to the point where it just became a little bit of a fad than a moment of celebration. But regardless of all that, now we officially got the release date of this thing, and shockingly enough, it's going to be much sooner than expected. So without further ado, let's go ahead and start this off with our first story, as we are going to go and check out the trailer for the upcoming Paramount animated movie, Avatar Aang, The Last Airbender. And that was Avatar Aang, The Last Airbender, to which the movie is now going to be released on Paramount Plus, actually very soon, next Friday on not next Friday, next Saturday on July 25th. Now, this is also the other major news about this movie, along with this new trailer, is the fact that Paramount decided that they would go and switch up the release date, because for the longest time, even before it was ultimately decided that it was about to be released on Paramount Plus, instead of being released in theaters, by that point, it was always scheduled that it was about to come out in October. And for a while, it kept that October 2026 release date. But then suddenly, I guess after everything that happened, Paramount decided, okay, you know what? Let's just go and have it be released. Let's just go and put it out immediately. And funny enough, it kind of makes me think that right now what Paramount just pulled is very similar to the kind of advertising that you would expect out of Netflix, where they would go and put out the first major trailer to go and say that, oh, well, in a couple of weeks, this thing is going to be released, but here's your first major look at the movie that we're going to go and talk about. And I will say, for me, as a cartoon reviewer, it did make me go into a little bit of an emergency, like, oh, crap, I got to go and change things up onto my schedule, and I got to go and switch a few things so that now I have to go and include this movie. So it is a little bit of a priority. And yes, I did end up switching things up in terms of my schedule. I'll even say right now that I know this is something that a lot of people are very much anticipated for, but unfortunately, part 4 of Animation Look Back Blue Sky Studios is going to be delayed to August. So just want to give you all a heads up on that. Unfortunately, with everything that's been going on in my life so far, I've been incredibly busy, and I just didn't have time to officially go and start that production. But anyways, this is not about Animation Look Back. This is about Avatar Aang. And I'll even say right now that no, even though the movie was leaked a few months ago, I have not seen the movie itself. Like, I remember at the time when the leak was like all fresh and stuff like that, I did recall like maybe seeing a clip or two being thrown around here and there, but honestly at this point, I kind of forgot the context of what that clip is, and I did my due diligence to not go and actually download the movie and watch it entirely in full. So So in that regards, I decided to hold myself back until the movie would officially be released, in which now it looks like it's going to be much sooner than expected. So yeah, this is basically to say that no, I haven't seen anything from these clips in particular, or I haven't seen anything from the movie as of yet. So even with this trailer, with what they are presenting, it's all new to me. And I gotta say, as a fan of Avatar: The Last Airbender, yeah, what they presented here is mind-blowing. It is crazy to see what they have done in the trailer, and especially bringing back the feel of the original series and now coming in as a feature film, and especially with the fact that this is going to be a 2D animated movie. Like, that's one thing that's going to be exciting. It's to see this bringing back that signature mock anime style, and especially emphasizing on the action, but it's still all 2D, in which not only are you going to see like all the different fights, but also with how the characters are going to be playful with their expressions as well. And speaking of the action, that is one thing that, of course, that's what visually stands out with this trailer right over here. It's the way that they would go and present all the action and all the element building, pretty much manipulating the elements to go and execute these unique fight scenes that they got here. Like, a lot of the shots that they have going on, I mean, it's admirable, especially around the second half where you see Aang using his airbending skills, or like when you see like many of the others, like when you see when you see Toph, or you see Zuko or Katara, when they're using their element bending skills. Like, it's really awesome and admirable. And not to mention, so far, it's very promising to see how it's all, like, even over here, especially, like, how everything is just all well choreographed, and especially presenting it in such an epic scale, with the fact that, okay, well, the 100-Year War is now done, but then suddenly we're going to be getting another major war that's going to be occurring. And that's also another thing that, as an Avatar fan, that I'm really excited and very curious to go and see with what's going to be in store right over here. It's the fact that now they're really going in to go deeper into what has happened after the first series. Like, what are the events that went on, like, now that the characters are adults? Like, have everything, was everything fine, or did they face some trouble along the way? And this would go and really answer the question, and especially adding in the factor, which I believe it's going to be Dave Bautista's character, where now they actually did find another airbender that is like frozen in ice and stuff like that. So to see what they are going to do with all that, it's going to be very fascinating. But if there is one criticism that I'm going to give based on from what I've seen in the trailer, and this is something that I could be wrong, but I got a feeling that this feels like the kind of movie that is going to be more exclusive to the fans, because this is something that whenever I would go and review movies that are based on already established TV shows, stuff like Pokemon or SpongeBob or the Powerpuff Girls or what have you, that's one thing I also think about, is that, is this something that newcomers can come in and that they could equally enjoy this as much as the fans would? And this is one where I feel like I'm kind of questioning that factor. I don't know if I can imagine, like, if there is someone out there who has never seen Avatar: The Last Airbender, if they could jump in specifically to this movie and that they could have fun with what they are watching, if they can enjoy the characters, if they can be familiar with who they are, that's something that I am 100%, that I am not 100% sure if that's going to be something that it could go and actually help out for others. Because if that would be the case, then it's really going to limit the influence that this movie is going to have. Because if this cannot be like a gateway to Avatar The Last Airbender, then I feel like it really is going to be holding it back from making like a major impact in this year. I mean, I would say that it wouldn't make as much of an impact right now, especially after like everything that has occurred with the leaks and stuff like that, which you know that there have been some people who have already seen it, who have checked out the leaks and stuff like that and know how it is. And it is rather unfortunate that it did occur, because now like the impact that it's going to make right now, it won't be as strong as what we have recently seen with something like Toy Story 5, for example. So it sucks, but you know, we'll ultimately see how it goes. But overall, though, I gotta say with this trailer, it definitely looks exciting. And yeah, I'm absolutely hyped to see what's going on. Even with me and my friends, like, we're all excited to go and see what is going to be in store with this movie. So if you guys are excited to go and check out Avatar Aang, The Last Airbender, then keep in mind that the movie shall be coming out on Paramount Plus on July 25th. And with that said, now I would like to go and pass this on to the chat wall, and I want to go and ask you all, what do you all think about the trailer of Avatar Aang, The Last Airbender? Did you guys actually enjoy it? Do you have a few criticisms? And by the way, if there is anybody out there who has actually seen this movie, if you have actually seen the leaks, please do not go and spoil anything for those who have not seen it. I think that's one thing that is important to go and clear out. And at the same time, I might as well go and create a poll in this case. So I might as well go and ask you all at the same time, did you enjoy the Avatar Aang trailer? So gonna write down yes, then I'm gonna write down no, and we'll see what people will have to say here. All right, so let's see now. I was aware the movie got leaked, but I chose not to watch it since I haven't watched the show and avoided spoilers as much as I can. But I do feel so sorry for the artists who felt like how the movie was planning to be in theaters, then go to streaming. But I will say that the trailer was literally my first look to this movie. This looks amazing. To prepare myself for this movie, I'm going to watch the show to get myself in preparation for this movie. Correction, the date is July 25th. Did I say June 25th or I don't know. Okay, yeah, but you guys get the idea. The release date is July 25th. Okay. Anyways, what else do we have here now? I wish I could be more excited about this movie because it looks awesome. Sadly, I can't get hyped about it because one, Paramount is a nest of vile parasites that I refuse to give money to. And two, with how the project has been mistreated due to the company's incompetence, I've got serious misgivings about it. And three, perhaps more importantly, I'm really more of a Legend of Korra guy. Ah, well, that's fair enough. That's perfectly fine. Oh, someone just wrote down, spoilers, he bends air. My goodness. I thought Aang was an earthbender. What do you mean? Anyways, let's see here. Despite the controversy, I'm excited to see this movie. Seeing the bending in a movie like quality is a dream come true. And while I know some are sad that the OG voice actors aren't coming back, I think the new actors work well as the grown-up Avatar gang. Plus, as a fan of Steven Yeun, he was born to play Zuko. Yeah, I do feel like that might be another piece of controversy, or like this might be something that you'll see a lot of online discussions, because it is true that all the people in Avatar The Last Airbender, at least in terms of the voiceovers, they did get replaced with a brand new cast. And I know that like there might be some discussions about the integrity of like staying true to the original. And then on the other side, there's also the factor that now there's better representation in terms of the cast where the race of the actors reflect better upon who they are playing. So in that regards, I know that can be a whole debate in itself, but I believe ultimately it is going to depend on how well the new voice actors are going to be and how well they can go and capture the spirit of the characters. So that's going to be an entire discussion that we'll save for much later when the movie will actually be released. Let's see if there's any other comments here. I'm a huge fan of Avatar The Last Airbender, and this trailer looks phenomenal. The animation looks absolutely gorgeous and a massive upgrade compared to the show. The action scenes look awesome, and it really feels like it captures the spirit of the original. So overall, I am hyped for this, and the fact Paramount didn't release this in theaters is a sin, and I think we should support this, mainly to support the crew behind it after everything they went through because of the leak. Yeah, I definitely do get what you mean. And we did get some results, and wow, the grand majority of you actually loved it. In fact, 92% of those who have voted have actually said, yes, you did like the trailer, while only 8% have actually said no. So it's not unanimous, but most people have definitely been loving this Avatar trailer. All right, let's see what else we got here. While it's great to see this movie getting released despite everything that has happened, I can't deny I don't feel as excited as I thought I would be. It's not the film's fault, by the way. The animation is gorgeous and the performance sounds solid, but that's the thing. It all looks great for the big screen. It kind of makes me upset that this is how we're seeing it and this is how it is released. Of course, I'll still watch it and I'm sure I'll enjoy it, but it's bittersweet for what could have been. Yeah, and I mean, like, that's kind of that's kind of like a whole discussion altogether when it comes to movies that are being released on streaming, because there's a lot of them that are absolutely worthy to be presented on the big screen, that they should have been released in theaters, but the fact that they're released directly at home really does feel like it devalues them as actual movies, that they don't have as much weight to them compared to a feature film that would be released in theaters. I mean, there are like those few exceptions, of course, and I mean, there are those streaming movies that do get a chance to be released in theaters, like with Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. But yeah, it does suck that now that Avatar Aang is just a Paramount Plus streaming movie, it wouldn't be taken as seriously as something that would come out in theaters like either Toy Story 5 or Minions and Monsters. But anyways, actually, I may have time for one more comment to go and read. I know like a lot of them have some words, so I'll read one more comment in this case. Let's see. This looks like it's going to this looks like it's going to be epic, and as a fan of the show, I am so hyped. It sucks that this will not go to theaters and that Paramount is shadow dropping this on Paramount Plus, similar to how they did it with the Among Us show last month. At least we are getting it. Glad that Paramount didn't straight up shelve it. Despite everything that happened to this movie, I am still excited, and as a fan of Invincible, I'm happy to see Steve Yeun in this. All right, so there definitely is some hype going on for this movie. And with that said, just to go and quickly repeat that if you are excited to go and check out Avatar Aang, The Last Airbender, then keep in mind that it shall officially be released on Paramount Plus on July 25th. All right, now with that said, we're going to go on to our next trailer. And when we come back after this break, I'm going to go and show you another trailer, and it may be live action, but it is a trailer for one of the most anticipated movies of the year. So stay tuned for that. All right, welcome back. Now, when it comes to the next trailer we're about to go and watch, yes, this is going to be a live action movie, not animated, but it is one of the most anticipated features that are going to be coming out. And it's kind of funny to mention that, considering that there is one movie that's going to be coming out very, very soon that has a lot of hype behind it, so much so that some people are already saying, like those who did get an early screening, that it's already up there as one of the best movies of the year with Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey. But then you got December 18th, in which on that date, we're getting not one, but two of the most anticipated movies of 2026. One of which, of course, is going to be Avengers Doomsday. That's getting a lot of hype right now. But then there is this one right over here, in which that is also getting some excitement, mainly because of the fact that it is going to be the epic conclusion of this massive trilogy. Maybe the franchise itself will go and continue, but at least in terms of this main plot line featuring the main stars here and the director, it is saying that it will be the finale of this whole thing, or as they keep on saying, it's the epic conclusion. So without further ado, let's go ahead and check out the trailer for the upcoming Warner Brothers movie, Dune Part 3.
I trusted you!
And that was Dune Part 3, to which the epic conclusion is going to be coming out later in theaters on December 18th. Now, I will say that even though I am not familiar with the original source material, admittedly, I have not read the book. Maybe I've seen some clips of the original movie that came out in the 80s or something, but I barely remember much from that. But I have so far been following the Dune movies so far. I have been watching them one after another. Maybe not necessarily on the big screen, but whenever I can, I do my best to go and follow it, especially with the fact that as a fellow Montrealer, of course, I got to go and show my support to Denis Villeneuve, which is why, like, in my area, of course, whenever Denis has a brand new movie coming out, we all get massively excited for that. And I remember with Dune Part 2, I didn't get to see it in theaters, but I did get to see it on the plane on my Japan trip. I mean, considering that you're literally up there for hours, and in my case, I had to go and take 2 flights in order to get there. So having those long movies like the Dune features are a help in order to go and like really pass the time, and they did help me out to go and like catch up on like what's going on in the world of cinema. So in the case of Dune Part 2, I will admit that prior to this, my memory of like what happened in that movie was almost wiped clean. Like if you would ask me prior to watching this trailer if I did recall like the events of Dune Part 2, I would just be there like, wait a minute. I kind of forgot, actually. The memory is gone of that. So in that case, I was a little bit worried that if I was going to go and talk about the Dune Part 3 trailer, maybe I would have to go and do some research in order to go and remember. I was like, what the fridge happened? But thankfully, just by watching this, and I don't know, maybe it's just from seeing Timothée Chalamet and Zendaya with her bright blue eyes in this movie, and seeing the other characters like with Jason Momoa and Florence Pugh and all those, like suddenly things started to really click. Like, okay, now I understand what's going on, because it is true that with Dune Part 2, it was basically the rise of Paul Atreides as the new Messiah. I mean, how could I forget like all the memes about Paul Atreides being the new Messiah when it would clearly bring him down to a pretty dark direction. And that's exactly with what we are seeing here with Dune Part 3. It is the fact that now we are seeing the consequence of Paul Atreides being the Messiah. It's the fact that now, in a way, the story has kind of shifted where, at least with what they are presenting in this trailer, he's pretty much the villain, and there are numerous of different forces that really want to go and take him down. And I would immediately say that it already starts off in a rather like intense way, especially with the fight of Zendaya and Timothy Chalamet with Paul Atreides, like with this moment right here.
I trusted you!
Like, even that little moment, like, you would think, like, okay, well, like, aren't they the cute couple of Dune? Because, like, in the past two movies, you were rooting for their love, for their connection, that maybe Paul Atreides can go and help things out if he could connect with the other, you know, if he could connect with the Spice People and fall in love with Zendaya. But in actuality, though...
You promised me that you would never take power in your name.
No, that ain't happening, because already they're fighting, and they're even showing of the possibility that Zendaya could go and betray Paul Atreides. So there are like those internal things, I guess you could say, like those romantic drama aspects that from here, it's already showing a lot of the intensity, about as much as some of the wars that they would go and present. And it's honestly crazy also that you see the other characters that, in a way, they're kind of turning on Paul Atreides, or they're telling him that he messed up. Even with Jason Momoa's character, like, I know that usually with Jason Momoa, he is often considered a bit, like, nowadays, kind of a character actor, where there is that element where, you know, he wants to add a bit of fun to his performances, rather it be with Aquaman, or recently with what he did with Lobo and Supergirl, or even his role in Minecraft and stuff like that. You know, just like, you know, like, even though he would be big and muscular, you know, he's a fun, goofy guy also. But, and even I would say with the Dune movies beforehand, his character, like, while a bit more serious, there is that element of fun that he maintained where it's, you know, it's kind of like that signature of a Jason Momoa character. But in this case here, however, you go into the trailer and you look at how he is right now, and yeah, now he's full blown serious, where he's mainly there to go and tell Paul Atreides that he messed up. Like, just to go back to that moment.
Why are you here? To deliver a peace proposal.
Wait for it.
This is meant to destroy you.
Like, he is basically there to go and say that, like, it's time we go and restore peace. How are we going to do that? Oh, we pretty much got to go and exterminate you, basically. So, yeah, there's a lot of it where you can tell that in this one, it's going to be intense. Where now that we have seen the rise of Paul Atreides, the next step now is going to see the fall. And this is not even to mention about the visual component with it, because with the Dune movies, of course, it is highly admirable from a cinematic perspective, especially when it comes to the effects and when it comes to the cinematography. And each of the shots that are in here, like, they are beautiful to look at. Like, honestly, even with this trailer, this is the kind that, like, you would pause it, and no matter where you would scroll, there is a pretty solid and well thought of shot that's going on, rather it be a close look at the characters, or you would get this landscape shot where you would see the different, you know, where you would see more of the environment, or like even like some of the wider shots that would go and present the whole world, or especially like the battle shots, like the action scenes that would go on. Like, it really is promising to be quite an intense feature. Like, and they're showing you that it's going to be intense in many different ways. Yes, there are going to be some massive wars going on where there will be some powers that will go and fight against Paul Atreides, or there is also going to be some internal intensity regarding the relationship between certain characters, not just with Timothée Chalamet and Zendaya, but even with some of the other characters. Like there's also another moment right over here, like this one. Yeah, this is another good one to go and highlight, like with this.
You intend to kill Paul?
Regime change.
Idiot. You've just signed our death warrants.
Like, even with that one as well, basically now we're going to see more of the larger scope of the consequence of trying to like start this war and to go and try to take down Paul Atreides. So overall, I gotta say that with this trailer right over here, yeah, it does make me feel more and more and more curious about how this movie is going to be, and ultimately how Denis Villeneuve's Dune is going to ultimately conclude. Like, if this is going to be the grand finale of this entire Dune story, how are they going to go and cap this one off? And already, just from the trailer alone, excuse me, folks. Ooh, okay. But back to what I was saying, they are showing quite a lot of what's going to be in store in here. So they're showing a lot of action, of course, a lot of captivating cinematography, but also in terms of the performances, they can go and really get you hooked, especially with the drama that's going to be unfolding with all the different characters in here. So yeah, I can definitely see the hype that's going on for Dune Part 3. So with all that said, if you are interested in checking out Dune Part 3, then keep in mind that it's going to be coming out in theaters on December 18th. And with that said, now I would like to pass this down to the chat wall, and I want to go and ask you all, what do you all think about the trailer of Dune Part 3? And especially if you have seen the previous two Dune films, then I would like to know your thoughts on those as well. But overall, I'd like to know what you think. And on top of that, let's go and actually do a trailer where I want to go and ask you a different question this time. Let's go and actually spice this up. Whoops. A poll is out. Oh, someone already did the poll. Oh, okay. Wow. Okay. Somebody already put up a poll. I was ready to go and do my own. And honestly, I wanted to go and ask if any of you guys are planning to go and see Dune Part 3, but I guess we do have a poll if you enjoyed the trailer of Dune Part 3. So you could go and participate in that. And now let's see what the chat wall has to say. All right. Gotta be honest, I haven't seen either of the Dune movies, so I haven't got much to say, but I will say that the trailer was impressive. Visually, it looks nice, and it does look like it could be a solid conclusion to the trilogy. And the fact it's releasing on the same day as Avengers Doomsday is very interesting. And it's funny because Florence Pugh is actually going to be in both this and Doomsday releasing on the same day, which is a big win for her. Yeah, I think this is going to be a situation where no matter what the situation is, Florence Pugh is absolutely going to win. I mean, it's kind of similar to what's going to be happening this month with Tom Holland. The fact that he's not only going to be featured in Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey, but also he's going to be reprising his role as Spider-Man in Brand New Day at the end of this month. So it is a little bit similar that we are witnessing here, which, by the way, it does remind me, I haven't fully checked on the details, but has it been confirmed that Tom Holland is also going to be in Avengers Doomsday as well? Like, is he also going to be coming back? Because it would rather be surprising if, it wouldn't just be Florence Pugh, but then you also got Zendaya, who's also going to be making a comeback as Mary Jane in Doomsday. So I don't know. Apparently some people are saying that there is no confirmation as of yet. Okay, that's fine. Good to know. Anyways, I haven't seen part 1 and 2 on the big screen. I have read a few chapters of the book, though I wouldn't say I'm into Dune that much due to how slow the movies are, and I didn't read the rest of the books mainly because I didn't have enough time to read the rest of it due to so much happening in my life. But the trailer does look interesting and pretty curious to how part 3 would conclude, though I doubt it would get me hyped up, though I would love to hear more of the sound effects. Oh, with the sound effects. Oh geez, I kind of forgot about those already. Oh yeah, side note, by the way, apparently the results of the poll here is that, well, all except for one have actually said that yes, you did enjoy the trailer of Dune Part 3. Interesting, considering that I do see in the poll that, or I do see in the chat that many of you seem to be a lot more excited about Doomsday more so than Dune Part 3, which is perfectly fine, but still, hey, at least the trailer is definitely doing its job. But yes, funny enough though, I did forget about, honestly, I wasn't sure if you're talking about the sound effects in the trailer or if you mean my sound effects that I have with my soundboard. But either way, like I'll be sure to like recall for either or. All right, anyways, let's see what we got here. I have to say the first 2 films physically, but I seriously need to catch up on them, mainly because they're just so long I didn't have the time. But this looks really intense and interesting. I also wonder if this won't be the last one, since this is actually based on the second book and there are plenty more in the series. Yeah, and that is one thing actually, because I do remember during my trip to Japan, like I talked with one of my friends in regards to the fact that I did watch Dune Part 2, and he told me how, like, yeah, Dune is actually like much more than just like the main book that people are familiar. Like, this is an entire franchise where the story would go on and on and on, and it would go through like many different generations. And we even had a discussion if we're also going to be looking more into the kids of Paul Atreides, since in the movies they did hint a little bit about it. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but Anya Taylor-Joy plays one of Paul Atreides' kids that Paul would sometimes see in the future, and it's like suddenly we would get glimpses of Anya Taylor-Joy who was there and talking to him and stuff like that. So I don't know how further Warner Brothers wants to go with the Dune franchise, and that's why I said that at the very least this is going to be the epic conclusion of Dune in terms of the movies that are directed by Denis Villeneuve and starring Timothée Chalamet, Zendaya, Jason Momoa, and Florence Pugh, and all of those people. So we'll see what the future holds, but at least like it seems to be the epic conclusion of this Dune story at the very least. All right, let's see. I've seen both Dune movies, so I'm very willing to see this one. This is also Avengers this and also Avengers Doomsday. Hold on a sec. Sorry, just need to get that out of my system. By the way, while this will win visual effects, it may not be the biggest awards player for Warner Brothers. That would be Digger. Yeah, I did hear, honestly, like I didn't have time to go and change things up in terms of like what to go and talk about here, but I did hear recently the Digger trailer did get released, and it's already getting a lot of talks and a lot of prospects in terms of who's going to be like winning during the award season and stuff like that. So maybe that could be something that I'll go and keep an eye out in the future. I mean, who knows? Maybe if there's not enough stories to go and talk about in the next episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast, I could probably consider throwing Digger into this and see where the discussion goes, you know? All right, let's see. Do we have any other any other discussions if people want to go and share their thoughts? Honestly, the Dune movies always made me fall asleep every time I tried to see it, but regardless, I'm sure this is going to be an awesome film, and we'll still split moviegoers this December, considering this and Avengers Doomsday are releasing on the same day. Well, in that case, considering that there is a lot more hype, at least with you guys, for Avengers Doomsday than there is for Dune Part 3, maybe I should go and talk about that film as well when that trailer is going to be released. Whenever that's going to be, I honestly don't know, because like right now, I feel like with this summer, you know that a trailer is going to be coming out with Doomsday. It's just that I'm not 100% sure if it'll be coming out during Comic-Con or on D23, but I guess time will only tell. But in terms of Dune Part 3, though, there does seem to be some interest to check this movie out. And if you guys are interested in seeing Dune Part 3, then keep in mind that it shall be coming out in theaters on December 18th. And now we're going to go on to another break. And when we do come back, now I'm going to go and talk about what's going on in the present. And I'm going to do something that, honestly, this podcast haven't done in a long time, which is some box office discussions. So stay tuned, because then we're going to go and make a splash with the latest feature out in theaters. All right, welcome back. Now, when it comes to our next story, we are going to go and discuss about the latest big movie that has been released in theaters, which is the live action remake of Disney's Moana. And yes, I am planning to have a review that's going to be released later this week, but I will tell you right now that in terms of my thoughts on the picture, I will say that I liked it as much as I did the How to Train Your Dragon remake. And if you know my thoughts on that movie, well, I'm just going to say the same will go and apply to the Moana remake as well. But from there, a lot of people have been expecting that, well, since this is a Disney live action remake and it is based on a popular property like Moana, some have thought that, well, regardless of what the critics are going to say, then at that point, it might end up becoming a box office hit. And people have guessed that maybe it's going to do some pretty big numbers at the box office, or at least on its opening weekend. But unfortunately, it looks like it didn't really go and do as well as people thought. So in that regards, let's go ahead and talk about the box office opening weekend of Moana. Yes, the live-action remake of Moana was expected to go and be another summer hit, but at that point, some of the earliest predictions that people have made was possibly that maybe it could do quite well, where it would start out at either 75 million or maybe 80 million. Is that what happened? No, that's not what happened. And then later on, as we were getting closer to the summer, some people were guessing, okay, maybe, maybe it's a little bit too generous. So maybe the predictions, it could be more accurate to go and say that maybe it would be around 50 to 60 million dollars. Maybe it'll go and have that kind of a strong opening. Is that what actually happened? No, because the real box office results of what happened during this opening weekend for Moana was that it managed to make a total of $43 million. So yeah, quite the unfortunate leap of going from possibly making 75 to 80 down to just 43 million. In fact, this has often been noted to be almost on par, just a little bit above the Snow White remake. And from there, everybody is already saying that things are about to go downhill and things are about to go quite bad for the Moana remake. Even if some audiences did manage to enjoy it, it doesn't look like it's going to be the feature where it will make its money back. And considering how Disney can often be quite generous with the budgets of these movies, and especially the case with the Moana remake having a budget of $250 million, there is honestly a very strong chance that it's not going to be making its money back. Now, I'm not saying that it won't, because maybe there is a chance in the future that it could actually find a way to, find more of its audience and able to go and make a profit while it's still in theaters. But at this rate, however, those chances are a lot closer to zero than for it to go and actually happen. So yeah, even though it did manage to go and make it to #1 at the domestic box office, it's already a bad sign that the Moana remake is not going to become a success for Disney. And by the way, just to go and give you some details right now, going on to my source on Box Office Mojo, it actually states here that on top of its $43 million domestic opening, it did also gain an extra $52 million at the international box office, which, as I am recording this, gives it a worldwide total of around $95 million. On top of that, since we are talking about some box office news, I might as well go and bring up some of the others as well. We also got Minions and Monsters that managed to make it to second place with over $20 million during the weekend. And it's also worth noting that it has officially crossed the $100 million mark at the domestic box office, which currently gives it a worldwide total of over $280 million. And then you also got Toy Story 5, which managed to make it pretty well in third place with $18.5 million. And even though it hasn't even been a month since the movie was officially released in theaters, it's already doing tremendously well, where this weekend it has officially crossed the $400 million mark on the domestic box office. So don't be surprised if by next week, it'll officially become the highest grossing movie of 2026 domestically, where it'll go and beat out the Super Mario Galaxy movie. And this is not even to mention that it also has a worldwide total of $879 million. And one more thing to go and add is in regards to Michael. Even though it's been quite a while since the movie has been released, it has now become the first ever musical biopic to which it has managed to cross the $1 billion mark at the box office. But this isn't about any of these other movies. We're going to mainly go and look into the problems with Moana and why is it that it underperformed at the box office. Now, I want to go and state this right now. I know that I am not going to be the first to go and say this immediately, but there are a few obvious reasons as to why Moana did not do that well. And some might be rather shocked because the thing is right now, Moana is a very popular IP. Some would even say it's one of Disney's biggest IPs right now that can fairly be comparable to Frozen or Lilo and Stitch. And some people may have thought that, well, considering how Lilo and Stitch became a massive success, then maybe Moana as well will become big, regardless of whatever controversies are happening on social media, regardless of what critics may say, that this could actually be a decent moneymaker for Disney. But right now, it doesn't seem to be. And why is that? Well, the main reason, #1, that I want to go and point out immediately, and this is something, of course, I will also bring up in my review, it's the fact that it's not a nostalgic movie, and it's still too early to be considered a nostalgic movie. Like, I've mentioned this before, that one of the most baffling things about this Moana remake, it's the fact that it didn't even wait until Moana is officially 10 years old. Like, it's not going to have its 10th anniversary until November. And at that point, it pretty much makes it hard to go and consider Moana a nostalgic property. Like, you're not going to see people coming in thinking like, oh, I remember as a kid when I saw the Moana movie, I want to go and re-experience that again. Because those people who were children when they saw the 2016 Moana movie, they're still technically considered kids. They're not really at the point where they can be considered nostalgic. You know, the funny thing is that I can't help but think about Inside Out 2. Like, you guys remember in Inside Out 2 when nostalgia is still in Riley's head and she still comes out? I was like, oh, do you remember the time? But then all the other emotions are just there, like, no, nostalgia, it's not your time to be here yet. You gotta wait until you're like 23 years old, okay? You know, get back in there and we'll call you when to go and emerge. You know, I honestly feel it's like that. You know, it's honestly, this Moana remake is a lot like nostalgia in Inside Out 2. She's just coming in way too early for the sake of having that nostalgia effect. And that's honestly the only thing that I will say that the How to Train Your Dragon remake has above the Moana remake. Now, of course, I've already alluded to this, but honestly, I hate the How to Train Your Dragon remake. I think it's one of the worst remakes in terms of all these live action remakes, and that it's nothing more but like a corporate slop of a shot-for-shot remake. You know, and this is why, like I even mentioned in that review, that I believe the shot-for-shot remakes are the worst kinds of these remakes because of how pointless they actually are. Like, even like, regardless if it is the Moana movie or How to Train Your Dragon, like when I was watching them in theaters, like I thought to myself, why the fridge am I even here when I could just be at home and watch the animated versions that offer me the exact same thing, but debatably better? But the thing is with How to Train Your Dragon, however, is that one thing that it has above Moana is that it was released a little bit later from its original. It was released 15 years after the first How to Train Your Dragon was released. So at that point, it just made it to be considered a nostalgic property, which is why people would go in and they would check it out and they would feel actual nostalgia when watching that feature. But in the case of Moana, it was not there yet. Again, this is a movie that came out in 2016, and we have even yet to reach the point that Moana would officially become 10 years old. So that is one aspect that is a massive detriment. And considering that these live action remakes are heavily lenient on nostalgia, I feel like that is a factor that Moana really did miss this mark on. It would have probably done a lot better if it were released much later, like in 2031 or even like in 2030 or something like that. If it waited just a few more years, then it would have had a better outcome where it would actually capitalize on the nostalgia factor, because by then Moana would officially be considered a nostalgic movie. But then there is also the second reason, and this is also a factor that people were just not really ready to go and have more big screen Moana adventures, and that is because of the fact that we just recently had one, actually, with Moana 2. And the thing with Moana 2 is that it didn't really come out that long ago. It was about a year and a half, or at the most, I would say almost 2 years ago, on November of 2024. Keep in mind, it's not that far from when I am recording today. And I will say that when it comes to Moana 2, I do agree that it's not a great movie. I'll even go as far and say that I believe it's Disney Animation's weakest movie in years. Much more than Strange World, much more than Wish, much more than any of the films that they have put out recently. I do feel like Moana 2 kind of missed its mark, and by the standards of Disney Animation, it is a lot more on the weaker end. But with that said, though, how it did at the box office is extremely impressive. It still managed to go and cross over $1 billion at the box office, and even domestically, it still did extremely well. In fact, let me go and double check, actually, just to go and have a quick search on what Moana 2 did. Because, yeah, like you look at the box office, it did amazingly. Even domestically, it managed to make over $460 million. And that's just in North America alone. So with those impressive box office numbers, at that point, it's safe to say that many people went to go and see Moana 2 when it was out in theaters. And this is not to mention, by the way, that it came out around the same time as the first Wicked movie, when that film was massively popular and that turned out to be a massive phenomenon. The fact that Moana 2, even though it's not as critically praised or didn't get as better word of mouth as the first Wicked movie did, it still did amazing on its own. So in that regards, everybody already got their fill of Moana on the big screen. We don't need another one, which feels like literally a pale imitation to what we got with the original. And that's one thing I'll even add, like, I'm going to mention this in my review. At least with Moana 2, it does offer us a brand new adventure. It does offer us new materials with the fan favorite characters like Moana, Hey, Maui, and more. So in that regards, honestly, again, it does raise the question that, considering that many people have already gotten their Moana experience on the big screen recently, what's the point of having another one when that is just going to be offering the same thing as what we have already received with the first Moana? And that actually leads me to another point, and I've seen some bring this up, and I think it's worth mentioning at the very least, and that is actually the fact that since this is a shot-for-shot remake, that has ultimately become a double-edged sword. Because yes, the fact that it's a shot-for-shot remake of Moana, that's kind of like the purpose of this entire movie. It's to go and completely re-experience Moana, but now everything is in live action, or the CG is now hyper-realistic. But there is also a detriment, and that is mainly the fact that it's a shot-for-shot remake of Moana. And the thing with Moana is that, like I said before, it's one of Disney's biggest IPs right now that can be fairly compared to the Mickey Mouse brand, or Frozen, or Stitch, or anything like that. And at that point, it is currently setting records on streaming, where Moana is one of the most watched movies on streaming. Not just one of the most popular movies on Disney Plus, but on streaming ever. So in that regards, when you do a shot-for-shot remake of one of the biggest movies on streaming, by that point, people will be asking the question, why would they want to go and spend a good chunk of their money and go out of their way to go to the movie theater, buy their tickets, maybe buy some popcorn and stuff like that, to go and watch Moana on the big screen, when they could just stay at home, save their money, and just watch the animated film, and they'll pretty much get the exact same kind of experience. Like, it ultimately just becomes very redundant by that point. And with all of these factors, this is exactly why we are seeing the Moana remake not actually doing well, and why it ultimately underperformed at the box office. And again, there is a chance that maybe it'll rebound and maybe it'll eventually find its audience, but it's going to be a lot more difficult, especially when the next major movies are going to be coming out very soon. I mean, coming this Friday, we are going to be getting the Odyssey, and that's going to be taking a lot of attention away from Moana, even if it's going after a completely different audience. But then at the same time, much later in the month, like in a few weeks, we're also going to be getting Spider-Man Brand New Day. So in that regards, it leaves a little room for the Moana remake to go and actually get a second chance. So ultimately, it's a pretty good sign that it may turn out to be a box office flop. And one more thing, by the way, because I want to go and quickly comment on this as well, because I know there are many people out there who are desperate for the live action remake trend to officially end. They are desperate to hear Disney say that they are no longer making these live action remakes and want to do whatever it takes in order for them to just shut down all of these productions. Like, no joke, there are people out there who are so hyper fixated on their hatred of these live action remakes, they would want the remakes to be over before any of the actual wars that are happening right now for them to be over. So in that regards, you'll see a lot of people that are desperately hoping that because the Moana remake might turn out to be a box office flop, that this is a sign that it's going to be so over for these live action remakes. And I'm just going to go and say right now, no, not really. Because I feel like we're kind of seeing a repeat of what happened last year with the Snow White remake, where people were celebrating its failure and that it might be a sign that, oh, maybe it's going to be over for these live action remakes, especially when they put the Tangled production on hold. Maybe it's going to be officially over. But then suddenly you got Toothless and Stitch who came in going, nah, fam, that ain't happening. We're still going on. And then the trend would go and continue. And this is not even to mention that when it comes to these live action remakes, Disney is still having a couple more going on, and other studios as well. Like, you got other studios, like you got Universal that's still doing the live action remakes of How to Train Your Dragon, with the second one that's going to be coming out next year. And then you got Amazon, who recently announced that they want to do one of Fern Gully, The Last Rainforest. And as for Disney, they still got the sequel to Lilo and Stitch that's happening with Chris Sanders both writing and directing, and you got the Tangled remake. I think it's going to take a lot more than just the Moana remake to flop in order to make things say that it's officially over. I think, honestly, if you want to go and keep an eye out for something that could indicate the end of the live action remake trend, I would say you got to go and keep an eye out on Tangled, because Tangled so far is doing a lot more right so far in terms of being a live action remake that could be successful financially. Maybe not creatively, that's going to be a whole other story, but considering that with Tangled, like that right now, that is actually considered a nostalgic property. And on top of that, Disney is pulling out the right moves in order to go and please the fans and do things like have Catherine Hahn play as Mother Gothel. If that turns out to be a massive box office failure, if that ends up getting the same results with what we are seeing right now with Moana, then at that point, now we can go and talk. Now we could go and talk about the possibility that maybe it'll be a box office flop. But for now, so far when it comes to Moana, yep, that looks like it has a stronger chance than not, where it's going to come out a failure. And yeah, I'll just say I can see why it flopped. So with that said, now I would like to pass this on to the chat wall, and I want to go and ask you all, what do you all think about Moana underperforming at the box office? Do you guys think there is a chance that Moana could actually find that second chance and it could actually do well at the box office and be a sleeper hit? Or do you think there's no hope for the feature and it's just going to come out a flop? Let me know what you all think. All right, so let's see. Now, honestly, at this point, I don't care anymore. I always kind of knew that it wasn't going to be good to begin with, since, well, it's too soon for a remake. Personally, I haven't seen it, but based on what I've heard, it's basically the same movie, but with not as good CG and The Rock's bad wig. Also, I need to call out Catherine Lagaaya's bad take on animation. Did you hear that, Matt? So, yeah, not interested. Honestly, I haven't heard her take, honestly. I don't, like, I'll even say now, I didn't really care for Catherine Lagaaya's performance. I just thought, like, she's just okay at best, but still quite a downgrade compared to what we have gotten before with Ali Cravalho. Anyways, let's see. I mean, we shouldn't be all that surprised. The previous movie is less than 10 years old by the time the stream is done. I guess people did not want Gus Van Sant's version of Moana. If you don't know what I mean, he's the director of 1998 Psycho. Guess people don't want to watch the same thing, but in live action. Maybe Disney should take this lesson. Pick a movie that's more than 10 years old. Even the How to Train Your Dragon remake makes more sense than this. Exactly. quickly. Like, as I said before, at least Dragon did manage to wait over a decade until having its remake so that the property that it's adapting is considered a nostalgic IP, which is what Disney didn't do right now. And I mean, like, with all this, it's kind of like if we would hear suddenly Netflix would announce that they would do a live action remake of K-pop Demon Hunters. Like, even if they would do it like in 10 years from now, it just wouldn't really work and it would not make any sense whatsoever, considering that, like, with the hype of K-pop Demon Hunters, do we know if it's going to last for like 10 years? Do we know if the nostalgia is going to be strong? But either way, it just sounds like the kind of idea that it would be a flop as much as what we're seeing right now with Moana. Anyways, let's see now. What other comments? Well, I'm on, I'll start with this and then I'll go to the other one. Honestly, I've seen, it seems quite surreal and unthinkable that both a Minions movie and a Disney live action remake, at least of a recent popular film, the ones that bombed are like the earliest films like Dumbo and Snow White. But judging from this reception, I really couldn't care less, considering it's apparently just line to line, shot for shot, the same movie that I already have at home. Looks like The Rock's backup plan to boost his ego back after Black Adam bombed really hard. Yeah, you know what? I will say, if there is one extra scene that I can go and think of, I think it's literally just one time where we quickly have like a meanwhile scene where we just see what's going on back in Motunui, where we see Moana's dad just looking out at the distance, being concerned of how things are going with his daughter. No dialogue at all. Lasts for like a minute or two. And then we just go back to the movie itself. I think that's the one extra thing that they have added from Moana. So yeah, honestly, other than that, you're not missing out on much. All right. Let's see now. What other comments do we have here? Glad to see the live action remake of Moana not performing well on its opening weekend because it's a live action remake. What do you expect? I mean, thanks to Minions and Toy Story, the ocean is not going to be strong with this one. I mean, if I have a nickel where Disney is trying to translate a Disney character into live action, like Snow White and the Clever Boys and Moana with the Chef Frillis crab, I have two nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice. And that's honestly another factor that you brought up, is that we already got some competition that's taking away the audience from Moana. Because is there really that much of an interest to go and see the Moana remake when there's already stronger options that are already getting a lot more positive word of mouth, such as either Minions and Monsters or especially Toy Story 5, which is already on its track to become one of, if not the biggest movie of 2026. So in that regards, like, you already got better options out there. Like, even for me, if I have to go back and watch another family film on the big screen right now, I would choose either to go and rewatch Minions and Monsters or Toy Story 5. Although I will say that if I do have the choice, I would definitely go and see Toy Story 5 again. I mean, it really is that good. But yeah, so overall though, I guess honestly, it's a surprise, but not a surprise at the same time. It's just because of Disney's dumb decisions of why it ultimately did not work out for the Moana remake. All right, so we're going to go on to our next break. And when we do come back, we are going to go and have some streaming discussions, to which we're going to go and talk about what are going to be the big plans that some streamers like Netflix and Disney Plus will have in store in terms of keeping the audience's attention. So stay tuned for that. Okay, now before I actually get into the next story, there is something that I have to go and bring up, because I do see the chat wall is just going crazy with it. And this is kind of like a breaking news that just happened. So at the very least, I will go and continue with my scheduled plan of what I'm going to do here. But at least it's worth having a quick mention that apparently, yes, it has been revealed that there is indeed going to be a freaking Hotel Transylvania 5 that's going to be happening, which will be a collaboration between Sony Pictures Animation and Amazon MGM Studios, to which this is going to be released in theaters on October 8th of next year. So honestly, I'm just going to go, I'm not really going to go and get into the details of like what's going on with all of this. But the only thing I'm just going to go and ask, and oh boy, like I can imagine like my social media feed is going to be clogged with this news. But like, forgive my language, folks, but honestly, like Sony, what the fuck, man? What the fuck are you doing, Sony? I mean, it's already bad enough that you got you got your gaming division, to which you're going to go and try to take away all the physical media off of PlayStation, and now you're pulling off stuff like this. Like, are you really that jealous of Toy Story and Shrek getting their 5th movie, and now you got to go and like drag this dead franchise? I mean, how ironic that you're calling this The Haunting of Hotel Transylvania, because I mean, at least it is self-aware that this thing is straight up dead, and that it's only the ghost that is coming back to haunt us with its absolute cringe. But anyways, this is not why I'm here to go and talk about. This is not the main subject I want to get into. No, instead, what I want to go and discuss is actually in regards to streaming services and what they are doing right now, because believe it or not, so far, streaming services are having a very hard time in terms of grabbing audiences' attention. They're having a hard time to keeping audiences to watching it instead of just staying on the platform, excuse me. And this is a case with several of them, not just with one. However, when it comes to 2 of them, they actually do have some ideas of what they can do in order to go and actually gain more engagement and to have people stick with their streaming services, which is the case of what we are seeing here with Netflix. Now, this article from Wall Street Journal would go and actually discuss in depth about the current situation with Netflix, in which one of the biggest problems that Netflix has right now is, like what I said before, is to go and maintain audiences' attention. They're having a very difficult time in terms of keeping the audience to stay and keep watching Netflix stuff, because generally what people would do is that they would turn on the TV, put on Netflix, maybe put on either a movie or maybe an episode or 2 of a series, and then they would just go and log off and check out something else, which is a problem for Netflix because they want people to stay on the platform. And they have suggested a few ideas. Now, this is a pretty big article to get into, but there is a little summary that I did find on Ground News, to which they did put in a bit of a summary on what was it that the Wall Street Journal would go and describe, to which it states here, Netflix is actively exploring bids for the 2030 and 2034 FIFA Men's World Cup alongside live channels and service bundles, according to the Wall Street Journal, to address slipping subscriber engagement. So yeah, and that's also one of the major things, is that right now, as this FIFA tournament is coming to a close, the ones for 2030 and 2034, now there's going to be a massive bid where there are several major corporations, not just with Netflix, but also with, with Amazon, with Apple, with Disney, and several others, where they want to go and put in their bid in order to make sure that they can get the rights to go and present FIFA. And whoever's going to be the big winner in that, well, of course, that's going to be a major moment when those soccer tournaments are going to occur. But that's one major strategy. And also, to continue forward, it states here that Nielsen's The Gauge shows Netflix's watch time share slid in recent months to 7.8% in April, fueling internal nervousness that previously led to a failed acquisition attempt of Warner Brothers Discovery. So you could pretty much imagine that when it comes to Netflix right now, considering that they're having a harder and harder time, you can imagine that things are panicking so far, especially when they failed to have the growth that they were hoping for after they failed to go and acquire Warner Brothers altogether. So they're kind of afraid that because they're not getting the engagement that they used to, that they're fearing that, things are slipping away in their grasp, and that maybe they're starting to see a little bit of their downfall, which they want to go and prevent. To continue forward, it also says that the company already holds the rights to the 2027 and 2021 Women's World Cup while securing deals for WWE Raw, multiple NFL games, and selected MLB rights, including the opening day game. So they're already ahead in terms of what they want to do in terms of sports matches that they want to go and highlight as well. Maybe they don't have everything in terms of the MLB and the NFL, but in that regards, of course, they're gonna start trying to lean a little bit more into sports, especially with their bid of trying to get the next FIFA games. And also says here, following successful live broadcast tests in France, the streamer recently simulcast a Formula One race with Apple, reflecting a broader effort to integrate live content globally. So that's also another thing. Like, this is something that they're already testing out in other stuff right now. But then at the same time, they also said that live offerings similar to YouTube and FAST services from Amazon, Tubi, and Roku are under consideration, alongside deals to ingest services such as Peacock into Netflix's platform. So in that case right there, with what Netflix is doing right now, of course, now they're opening up to the option of having stuff like bundles. Like, when you hear like deals with whatever service provider you may have, that they would go and offer specials where you can go and have Disney Plus and HBO Max, and they'll come for free with your with your subscription to whatever provider you may go and subscribe to. And for a while, Netflix was never in those bundles, but now they're going to be opening up the option that they want to do their own bundles, where maybe like package with Peacock that you can go and actually have both at the same price or have both for a much cheaper price. But then at the same time, they also mentioned about the live offerings, about live TV. And that's the main thing that a lot of people have focused on and a lot of people has talked about the possibility that Netflix would go and offer live TV channels that in modern terms are basically compilations that they would go and put on, so that if you would go and put up that compilation on your TV, you could just leave it there and it would help out in terms of the actual engagement of what you would get on your TV. Like, it would go and really help out with Netflix's big engagement problem. And a lot of people have already compared this to something like cable, which in a way, yeah, it is. Because the live TV idea is basically, if you would go and take something like, if you want to go and watch a channel that is nothing but all the reality shows and competition shows that Netflix would provide, then you would just click on that and you would leave it there, where they would just show episode after episode. Or there could be a channel that's nothing but DreamWorks programs, where all the movies and all the shows, they would just watch, they would just go and put on randomly that you could go and check out there. Or maybe there's like a channel dedicated to the Despicable Me franchise, where they would go and present all the Despicable Me and Minions movies one after another. So it's basically, with all of those, like with the live TV idea, it's just one major part of what Netflix wants to do in order to go and maintain audience's retention. That if they are going to subscribe to Netflix, then they want Netflix to be the main thing for people to go and check out. Because it works very well. It works very much like how YouTube works in a way. Because as I'm recording this, the main thing that YouTube is looking for is watch hours. It's in terms of engagement of how long people can go and actually stay on that particular video. Like if there is a video release and there's more people who would go and check it out from beginning to end, even if it is a long run, that would go and tell the algorithm, hey, maybe we should share this video, which makes it more likely for people to go and not only watch, but to also stay on YouTube as well. And that's what Netflix is also trying to do. They're trying to find ways in order to maintain that long-term engagement so that people don't just watch stuff on Netflix, but they could just go and watch Netflix again and again. Just to repeat myself, the big goal is basically to find a way to keep Netflix on the television and giving that availability of like making compilations so that people don't have to choose what they could go and put on. They're hoping that could be a factor to go and aid them. However, there is also another piece of news that I want to go and talk about that does relate to this as well. And that is from this article from Business Insider, in which they talked about Disney Plus and what Disney is currently doing right now in terms of their strategies of what they can do to bring people on board to Disney Plus. And I will get into this a little bit later, but one of the major things they have mentioned is that they're going to be adding in a free tier. And to go into more details, again, going back into what is it that Ground News have said in terms of their summaries, it states right over here, Disney is considering making some Disney Plus content available without a paywall, according to reports on Friday. Chief Product and Technology Officer Adam Smith discussed the early stage initiative during a company town hall Thursday. So basically one of the main things is that what they want to do with Disney is possibly make a free tier. And I don't just mean something that would just be like a free trial. No, it's just a tier in which you can go and have Disney Plus for free, with a lot of restrictions, of course, but at least there is a way where you can have Disney Plus for free. It even would go and clarify in here where it also states that while Netflix, Apple TV, and Paramount offer limited free access, they lack robust free tiers. According to Wall Street Journal reporting, engagement has become a critical indicator to customer retention across the industry, which is what I just talked about, that audience retention. I think that was the word that I was looking for a while. It's basically audience retention that is now becoming the most important factor in terms of consuming media. It's not necessarily about, what is it that's immediately going to go and grab people's attention to immediately come in and subscribe to whatever streaming service. Like, it's not enough for something like Disney to have Moana or to have Netflix to have K-pop Demon Hunters, because there are going to be those people who will just jump in, watch those movies, and then jump out of it, and that's it. Because now they want to find more strategies in order to keep them there. Again, it's all about audience retention. But to go back to what I was talking about, it also says here that free services like YouTube, Tubi, and Roku captured 18.7% of US television watch time in April, up to 16.8% a year earlier. These ad-supported platforms are forcing paid streamers to rethink their competitive strategies. And I mean, this is especially the case where in this economy right now, like with everything being so expensive and everybody making major sacrifices so they don't have to pay too much for different types of luxury so that they can afford stuff like rent or groceries or gas and all that kind of stuff, having a free tier feels like it's more important than ever. And especially right now with what we have seen with what YouTube is doing, with what Tubi is doing, especially as well. The fact that they put out stuff for free for people to go and watch, even if there would be like an abundance of ads that you have to go through, at least it is something that people can have where you don't have to pay. And that's ultimately what Disney is considering. Because yes, there are, like, if you're going to have a free Disney Plus tier, of course there are some cringy things that you got to go and expect. Of course there's going to be a bunch of ads that are going to be happening on the thing that you're going to go and watch. Maybe it's also going to happen during, like, in a movie that you would watch, where it's not just going to be the film from beginning to end, where in between, yeah, there might be some ads included, but hey, at least you're not paying for it. And that's one thing that Disney is considering, and I'll even dare say could actually give Disney Plus a step up for people to go and check out. Like, I'll even say right now, especially when it comes to their most popular stuff, like, that would actually give Disney a major advantage if they would go and not only put up, like, you know, some of the big ones like Frozen or Moana, or even some of the other big movies that they may have, like a few MCU films and stuff like that. Like, not only having those for free on the free tier of Disney Plus, but also, like, if they could go and put in some Bluey episodes as well, like, maybe it's debatable if they would put in all of Bluey, but at least if they could put in like a good chunk of Bluey episodes for free, you know that's going to be a major ticket for people to come into Disney Plus and have the free tier. And even though it would just be the free tier, at least it would help with getting audiences to be on Disney Plus in the first place, and it would give them one step closer to the consideration that maybe they would want a little bit more, and that they're willing to go and pay for the full services that Disney may have. And let me just see any other things that they mentioned. I don't think I've read all of it. It even says here that Disney CEO Josh D'Amaro has told staffers that he is prioritizing product and technology innovation in streaming. The company has already added vertical video clips to its Disney Plus app to boost engagement. So in that regards right there, of course, with Josh D'Amaro, like, he wants to go and take initiative, and you can imagine that he wants to be a little bit like Bob Iger, that now he's the new CEO. He wants to make significant changes to mark that, you know, we are now in the era of Josh D'Amaro. So rather it be something like the Disney Plus thing, we are going to see some significant changes that are going to occur. And whatever it may be, like, I'm sure Josh D'Amaro will find a way to, like, take a big step with Disney Plus and, like, maybe take some major risks that either it will help Disney Plus to be at the top and even, like, manage to beat out Netflix and Amazon in the top place, or it could really risk it where it could knock it down to become like the next Paramount Plus or HBO Max. Either way, don't be surprised if you hear some significant changes that will make us enter into a new chapter to Disney Plus. And finally, they also mention here that the initiative remains in early stages with no confirmed timeline or scope. Disney has not disclosed which shows or movies would include a potential free tier. So basically, they're just saying right now that, yeah, it's still early in the works. And even if Disney would go and actually do that free tier plan, we're not going to hear it until quite a while. Like, at the earliest, maybe it could be sometime next year that they're going to go and execute that plan, or maybe it's going to be like way later. Like, maybe this will be something that they'll officially announce at D23. And I don't mean this D23 that's going to be coming up. I mean like D23 that's going to be happening in like 2028. So in that regards, it's still going to be a matter of a wait and see. But honestly, in my opinion, at least, I think this might be something that Disney Plus should go and move forward, especially right now when streaming, you know, like the whole like streaming wars, I guess you could say, it's still highly competitive. And I feel like if Disney would go and initiate having that free tier go on, it would definitely give them a leg up in the competition. But it does highlight as a whole that you do see like how the landscape of streaming is really changing, especially right now with the dominance of stuff like YouTube and Tubi. Rather it be with Netflix wanting to find ways to get more audience retention with the live TV stuff and basically reinventing cable, or Disney trying to do stuff like free tier in order to go and bring more audiences to go and check them out. They are adapting to current times and what is it that audiences are demanding. And right now, when it comes to the digital programs that they watch, there is a side where they have to indicate that, yeah, people want it for free, even if it means that they'll have an abundance of ads. At least it'll be better than to actually go and pay and put them further into debt. So yeah, honestly, it will be interesting how things are going to go with streaming, but honestly, I feel like it is worth discussing. All right, so with that said, now I would like to go on to the chat wall, and I want to go and ask you all, what do you all think about the new streaming plans that Netflix and Disney would have? Are you on board with these ideas? Do you think the live TV thing with Netflix or the free tier for Disney Plus would work? I would love to know what you think on that. All right, let's see here. What's funny is that I was discussing in a Discord server a couple of months back, and I think it could work. Like a handful of movies and TV shows available, swap out every few months, even has the first couple of episodes of new shows available to watch to entice people to purchase the service to watch the rest. And for places like daycares, it could be great so they don't have to pay to put on Disney Plus Junior shows or movies. Of course, we have to wait and see if it'll happen, but it sounds like it could work. Exactly. And that's why I'm thinking that if there are going to be some stuff for free that they could go and put out, I think it's for the best that they could put in a lot of free stuff for the children, especially with a lot of the Disney Plus shows. And that's why I mentioned that the one way that it could be a major winner is if Disney would go and put out a bunch of the Bluey episodes, especially for places like daycares. If they could have something for free where they could go and put on Bluey and that it could be more accessible to have than something like YouTube, then honestly, it could actually be very helpful it could be very helpful for Disney. I think it would really give them a step up here. Anyways, this is definitely an interesting idea, what these companies are doing. With Netflix, I could see how them getting more sports events will really help them, not to mention having stuff that could keep people's attention. As for Disney Plus, having a free tier possibly helps, especially with having more people. Come on. Although if it does happen, it'll definitely be more limited and people won't have access to any of the live programmings, for example. Well, I mean, that is kind of the point though. And I mean, this is something that I'll admit I've just started to really go and do on my Patreon, because the whole thing with free tiers is that you want to give them a taste of the full services that you would go and offer. That if you tell like, hey, here are some nice little things that you can have, and if you want more, then you could consider paying for a subscription. And I mean, that, that's the big strategy that I feel like Disney should be doing. And honestly, like, I don't want to go and rush them, but I feel like it is a decision that is sooner the better, like the sooner you could go and pull that out, the better. Because honestly, it feels like the kind of great idea that we should be seeing with all the other streaming services as well. And if it's not going to be Disney who's going to be the first, then it's a guarantee that someone else will immediately. Like maybe Netflix is going to think of it beforehand and they'll execute that plan immediately before Disney would even have a chance to have their shot with it. So yeah, again, the sooner that Disney can go and put out that free tier idea, the better that I think it would ultimately work out for them. Let's see what other comments. I feel like it's going to be inevitable that Disney and Netflix will embrace live TV on streaming service going forward. Disney experimented this idea before with some football games and other special events. After all, it's just like how Billy Joel said, we didn't start the fire. Disney started the streaming wars. I can't take it anymore. Yeah, I mean, like, also with live TV, like as a lot of people stated, it's kind of ironic that now we're going back into the age of cable, that, you know, like now it's just, you know, instead of flipping through the channels of like ABC, Fox, CBS, and NBC, now we're just going to be flipping through Disney Plus, Netflix, HBO Max, Paramount Plus, just to go and see, like, you know, what else is on TV right now. All right. I'll go and read one more comment, and then we're going to go on to our final story. I have noticed that Netflix has been doing more live sports, and I know for a fact that they definitely do the numbers, well, since sports sells. I would say that Disney Plus has already been doing this for a while, as well as doing live events, including ESPN Sports, since I have both that and Hulu. But yeah, I think live streaming like this is basically the return of traditional TV. Exactly. That's kind of been what's been going on. Oh, actually, we do have one more comment that does seem interesting. Honestly, I think Disney should have done the free tier right from the start. And I don't just mean the weekly trial. I'm currently subscribed to the basic without Hulu, but if they had this before, it would have saved me more money in the long run, and would totally be all for the free tier if it also includes Bear in the Big Blue House. Exactly. And this is not even to mention that, considering that Disney right now has been considered like the go-to evil, greedy corporation, it would help to go and like subvert that image if they could go and offer a free thing to people. Like, you know, like it was nice when we had a time when Disney would offer free things, like when we had free fast passes instead of those lightning lanes. So if Disney can go and actually offer a free Disney Plus, it actually can go and help out that Disney can offer things more than stuff that we have to pay. All right, so we're going to go on to one more break. And when we do come back, I got one more news to go and cover. And coincidentally, it does relate to Netflix, but this is actually related to a major controversy that Netflix has found themselves in. Now, technically, this whole thing is not official, but still, if it does happen, oh boy, whoever's going to own this thing is going to be in a lot of trouble. So stay tuned for that. And now, everyone, it is now time that we shall go and end this off with the grand finale. Yeah, I decided to go with another new thing for the grand finale intros, just for the funsies of it, basically with my new stream deck here. But anyways, what we are about to talk about with this grand finale is going to be an acquisition. Yes, I know it's not fun to get into these discussions, but it's kind of interesting to talk about the current events with acquisitions, since as I'm recording this, by the way, this is something that just recently happened, in which there are actually several attorney generals from 12 different states that are currently suing Paramount to stop the acquisition of Warner Brothers. So it is a little bit of an interesting turn of events with what's going on with that. However, what I'm going to be talking about is actually a controversial acquisition in which nothing is set in stone just yet, but people are worried about the prospects of what this could actually mean. So with that said, why don't we go and actually talk about the Letterboxd acquisition, or the potential early talks to go and buy Letterboxd. Yes, there are several corporations right now that are taking an eye on Letterboxd right here in thinking that maybe they want to go and buy that app. And the ones who are thinking about buying it include Netflix, Sony Pictures, and Paramount. Just to go and specifically, like if I want to go into the details, I'll read you here from my source on Variety, to which it says right here, Letterboxd owners have held early talks with a number of potential buyers, including Netflix, according to an unconfirmed report by Puck. Other Others reportedly looking at Letterboxd include Sony Pictures Entertainment, David Ellison's Paramount Skydance, and Redbird Capital Partners, a key Paramount financial backer, and private equity giant TPG. Also supposedly kicking the tires on Letterboxd is Reddit co-creator Alexis Ohanian, who is founder and general partner of VC firm 776. To read you a little bit of a comment coming from a Letterboxd representative, they stated right over here, as Letterboxd has grown, it's natural there will be interest in what we do next. There's nothing specific for us to share at this time. Any decision about Letterboxd's future would involve the founders. So right now, this is still in early talks. Nothing is set in stone and we don't know who is the official buyer. But what we do know is that Letterboxd right now wants to go and sell, and they're thinking about the possibility that maybe they will go and sell themselves either to one of the major studios in Hollywood, whether it be Paramount, Sony, or with Netflix. And I'll just go, and by the way, for those of you who are not necessarily familiar with Letterboxd, just to go and quickly summarize, Letterboxd is basically this social media app that is all dedicated to media, specifically with movies and shows, where people can go and become their own critic, where they could go and do their own rankings, leave out their little reviews on whatever movie or show or what have you to go and watch. And they can also make their little rankings. They can make their little playlists, their little compilations of what they think is their favorite movies from best to worst, or they can make their little collection of, movies from a specific genre or from a specific studio that they enjoy. Basically, it's a social media. It's basically a social media app dedicated to movie fans. And I'll even say, honestly, I have considered a while thinking about if I could go and join Letterboxd. I mean, I'm only one person, and I mean the social medias that I already have with Blue Sky, with Facebook, with Instagram, and not even to mention what I'm already doing with YouTube and TikTok. That's already plenty for me. To go and add another into the mix would definitely be quite a lot, I will say. But I have considered it, though. I have thought about it. Maybe I could join in. I could do my own rankings lists, or I could get chaotic with my hot takes in the platform and do my own fun little goofy ratings, and kind of do what Kid Icarus does on TikTok, and just leave funny short reviews of whatever movies I would go and watch, or stuff that I would do full reviews on YouTube and stuff like that. But apparently, surprisingly enough, I was just informed that someone already made an unofficial AniMat account on the platform there, which I didn't fully check into it, but apparently I guess someone is keeping tabs on what I'm saying on certain movies and just make the reviews there, I guess. But it's just something that I've thought about for a while. But then when this news broke right over here, when the prospects of who could buy it, especially if it could be Netflix, at that point, I feel maybe it's for the best that I didn't end up in that platform, especially with the fact that now, considering that there is going to be a major corporation that's going to be involved with Letterboxd, many people are fearing about the possibility that this could mean that there will be some massive conflict of interest. Let's say if Netflix does own, Letterboxd, that they would go and buy them, and now it's their website. One thing that many people are fearing is that there's going to be a lot of that corporate cringe that's going to be involved, where now there's just going to be an abundance of ads that are going to be prominently everywhere in the platform in order to go and make a revenue off of having Letterboxd. So you'll see plenty of ads that are going on, but especially a lot of people are fearing if there is going to be some biases as well. Going back into the example example of or actually, before I get into the biases, like another cringy business thing that a lot of people are scared of is if AI is also going to be involved. That, you know, with how these corporations that right now they're in a massive fad where they think that everything needs to have AI in it. And especially when these corporations have already spent billions upon billions of dollars in investments on them. So they want to try to make the most out of their buck on it. So if they would go and include AI onto Letterboxd for whatever reason, then it might go and detract some people away. But to go back to what I was talking about before in terms of the bias aspect of it, that is something that a lot of people are really scared of, about the possibility if you get a company like Netflix, if they would go and own it, then they would go and prominently display their stuff more so than whatever big movie is going to be coming out. Like, let's say, for example, when December 18th comes, and many people at that point are going to be talking about Dune Part 3 and Avengers Doomsday. Like, that's going to be the two big things people will be discussing, people will be checking out, and that they'll leave out their opinions, their thoughts, and stuff like that. And then Netflix is suddenly got, like, Netflix, whom in this case would own Letterboxd, they would suddenly step in and like see everybody's discussions about those two movies and go, hold on, everybody. Aren't we forgetting something? Don't you know that we also have a movie coming out today, which is Ray Gun? Anybody would like to have a discussion about Ray Gun? Anybody want to go and talk about Ray Gun? Anybody want to have a discussion about that? I feel like it should be more important to talk about than either Doomsday or Dune Part 3. What do you think, guys? Huh? What about that Ray Gun? Huh? Like, you might expect that there could be a push that whatever company that may own Letterboxd, rather it be something like Paramount, Netflix, or Sony, that there would be that push to like further advance their movie so that they could have a much bigger platform compared to some of the others. And then there is also the factor that in that case, there is also the thing in which there could be another way that they would push their biases and actually remove some reviews that they may not like. Like, let's say, as another example, with Netflix owning Letterboxd, in this case, hypothetically, that let's say Netflix put out a brand new movie. Let's say, like instead of using Ray Gun, let's twist it up a little bit. Let's say that Cinderella movie that they have coming soon this year, which is Steps. And let's say Steps comes out and it's an absolute piece of crap. Like a lot of people are already saying it's one of the worst animated movies that have come out this year. And by that point, you'll see a lot of people who will go on Letterboxd and they'll express their dismay with the feature, where they're going to leave out a lot of 2-star and 1-star reviews saying that the movie is crap. Don't go and watch it. Spend your money on something else. And then at that point, Netflix is going to go and try to scrub off those negative reviews in order to make Steps look good, because they know that with those negative reviews and with bad of mouth, they would try, that would end up making that movie ultimately become a failure. So again, there could be those types of conflicts of interest that many people are afraid of if one of these corporations would go and own it. And by the way, it's not really a case by case basis here. Like, it's bad whoever is going to be owning it, rather it be Netflix or Sony Pictures or even Paramount. And I mean, my God, what the frick is Paramount doing in this as well, considering that they're already trying to buy Warner Brothers? Like, what more do they want at this point? So it's like, honestly, one of my first reactions was to see Paramount among the potential buyers. And I was just thinking, what are you doing in there? Aren't you already trying to go and buy freaking Warner Brothers, for God's sakes? Like, like one thing at a time, please. It feels ridiculous with what they are trying to do. So overall, I will, well, maybe not overall immediately, but I will say that I do understand what is it that people are really concerned about when it comes to stuff like this. And I know that many people would go and argue that technically with what we have right now in terms of these movie websites, that they are also owned by major corporations, and that, you know, there is some controversy with their little conflict of interest as well. And even on this article on Variety, it even mentions here that the prospects of the likes of Netflix, Sony, or Paramount owning Letterboxd would appear to introduce inherent conflicts, raising questions of whether they would somehow give preference to their own titles, like I just said. Note the film rating site Rotten Tomatoes was part of NBC Universal for years, and some critics have slammed that ownership structure as being problematic. Meanwhile, IMDb is owned by e-commerce colossus Amazon. But to give you an update on the whole situation with Rotten Tomatoes, it even says here, Rotten Tomatoes and movie ticketing and streaming service Fandango are now part of Versant Media, which was spun out from Comcast NBC Universal earlier this year. In April, Semaphore reported that Versant has held talks about buying Letterboxd. So it's not just the major studios, it's also some other corporations that are in talks. Like, you got other entities as well. Like, you got Versant Media. Like I said before, there's also the possibility of the Reddit co-founder Alexis Ohanian thinking about it too. It even mentions here about some others as well. They even mentioned that or no, this is, okay, never mind. This is actually a different thing over here, where it says the Letterboxd sale process is being handled by investment and merchant bank Liontree, which has been floating a rich $250 million valuation per Puck reports. Okay, so at least it does say that the value of it is going to be $250 million, which in terms of these major corporations, that's a small price to pay. I mean, like, considering how we have heard with these acquisitions, they would be like billions upon billions. $250 million is really not that much for these corporations. So it's like, I can see how there are definitely others that are just floating around the idea. But overall, though, I will say that I understand how this is troublesome for the future of Letterboxd, especially if they end up in the hands of these corporations. Now, if it does occur that either Netflix, Sony, or Paramount, if they do end up owning Letterboxd, one thing that I'm not sure is if that is going to be enough for people to go and ultimately boycott it. If that's going to be something that will make people say, okay, that's it, I'm no longer going to be using the platform anymore, and just ultimately bail out. Because keep in mind, we all know how Twitter has become so much worse ever since Elon Musk has owned it. But out of all of those who are not happy with how Elon is currently handling Twitter, how much of them have actually boycotted that website and just left it all together? Not as much as you may think, unfortunately. So that's why I'm honestly kind of questioning, like, yeah, as much as this is going to be a decision that will upset people, but how many of those people who do have a Letterboxd account and would be angry about the prospects of that, how many of them would actually leave the website? That, honestly, I feel like is going to be a whole different discussion altogether that we may have to wait and see on. But overall, though, yes, I do understand the concerns of this, and I guess ultimately we'll see what happens and who ultimately will go and buy Letterboxd, and if it's going to be for better or for worse, honestly, not sure. But anyways, now it is time we are going to go and pass this on to the chat wall. And I want to go and ask you all, what do you all think about Letterboxd being possibly acquired by another company, whether it be Netflix, Paramount, Sony, or someone else? And especially if you have a Letterboxd account, I would love to know what you think of this. All right. So let's see now. I don't trust these companies since you've mentioned it could lead to these companies trying to delete negative reviews if the movies don't do well, or there are some criticisms about the film, especially Sony and Netflix, since this could fuel the fire for their toxic animation community to use their own Disney, while Paramount, we know why they're bad Orange Man bootlickers CEO. Yeah, I do get what you mean there. Anyways, this is pretty scary. I've been using Letterboxd for 2.5 years now, nearing my 1000th review, and I've actually made a few good friends on there. So if whatever merger happens and all that awful corporate stuff happens, I'd be in quite a bad position. The site is really fun to use, even if it can be a source of some really unhinged reviewers. I'm at least glad there's something that's finally being done about the Warner Paramount merger. Yeah, and honestly, I would like to know from you all, like, just to ask you as fans, do you think I should join Letterboxd? That's also another thing I want to know. Like, if you guys think I should be part of that website too, if you want to see my little piece of madness in there, or my official piece of madness in there, I want to know what you guys think. Okay, I see a few yeses. Some people are saying that I should. All right. Anyways, I'm a proud Letterboxd owner, even prouder that it's independently operated in my country of New Zealand. But under a potential ownership of a major studio, this is a scary thought. I'm worried this will undergo the enshittification IMDb has gone through under the ownership of Amazon. I hate to see my favorite social outlets get corporatized like this. Yeah, I do get what you mean there. Let's see now. Oh wow, I'm getting a lot of people like I'm getting reactions, like some people thinking like some people are saying yes I should to just if you want. Anyways, well, let's see here. While I don't really use Letterboxd, it really isn't a good sign. The idea of Netflix owning the site would not help, especially with how they could potentially push their own movies. And even if another company would purchase the site, it wouldn't be any better. And even in the case of Netflix, that still wouldn't be a good idea, especially with how AI friendly they can be. Yeah, and just like what I mentioned, I mean, especially if Netflix would end up as the owner, you know, they would try to find a way to incorporate AI, or try to use Letterboxd as a testing ground to see like, oh, we want to use this AI thing for Netflix. Let's see how it goes if we use that on Letterboxd. There is also that possibility. Let's see now. Personally, I don't have a Letterboxd since I have a few bad experience with it. All I see is full of film snobs trying to act professional with their criticisms. It's just not for me. I'll stick with YouTube. But with this news that they are considering getting acquired by whatever company, this is going to get worse if this happens. But yeah, this is not going to end well if they decided to do this. Yeah, I can imagine it won't be a happy ending for anyone in this case. So from what I am seeing right here is that, yes, definitely it seems like a situation where it's going to be bad news no matter what will happen, but we'll keep an eye on the news to see how it's ultimately gonna go. But with that said, that should do it for today's episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. Thank you all so much for joining me on this, and tune in next time for more crazy news that's going to happen on this podcast. So, with all that said, I want to go and say that if you guys have enjoyed your time here on AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast, don't forget to go and subscribe to the AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast YouTube channel, as well as the AniMat Live the AniMat Live Twitch channel. I almost lost my train of thought there. At the same time, if you guys enjoyed if you guys are enjoyed this and whatever podcast service you're listening to, don't forget to follow me there, whether it be on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, Google, or many, many more. And with that said, I just want to say thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you guys so much for watching. And until next time, see you later, dudes. Oh, wow, it doesn't even work here. Babe, why y'all know? Is it going to...